Greetings, kindred friend. Let us spend a truly quiet moment right now. Imagine an early morning when the pale yellow sunlight gently pierces through the window, pouring peaceful streaks of light onto the floor. You sit there, alone, holding a still warm cup of tea in your hands. There are no more urgent alarm clocks, no more pressure from packed appointment schedules, and no more noise from the expectations the world once placed upon your shoulders. In that forgiving stillness, the warmth from your palms spreads, and your mind begins to undertake a strange journey. There is a moment in life when you suddenly realize you no longer earnestly look forward to chasing after something anymore. But you begin to quietly look back. You realize that, it seems, it is not the world out there that is changing, but the lens inside you is becoming clearer. The things that for the first half of your life you considered matters of survival, like status, arguments to win, or the desire to be recognized by the whole world, now suddenly become weightless. They are like golden dust particles dancing in the sunlight, sparkling, yes, but no longer possessing enough weight to ripple the lake of your consciousness. Amidst this sacred silence, an existential question suddenly gently knocks on the heart. Ultimately, what is truly important? What has all this time been merely a vain illusion? And what have you spent your whole life painstakingly pursuing, only to find out you never truly needed it? The Buddha once taught that the truth does not lie in the pages of books. The truth lies in the eyes that are no longer obscured by desires. Old age, therefore, is not a tragedy of decline, but a privilege of profound insight. Tonight, I invite you to walk with me through 9 great truths of human life. These are not lofty philosophies that you must strive to memorize, but things you will naturally see with absolute clarity once your mind is still enough to listen to its own voice. Let each of the following words be like cool water, washing away the final layers of dust so that you may return home to the complete peace that has always been there, inside you. Truth 1. Most of what you once worried about never actually happened. Do you remember the sleepless nights of 20 or 30 years ago, when your mind was like a movie theater where the lights never went out, continuously screening scenarios of failure, of potential losses, or of a murky future full of uncertainty? At that time, the anxiety was so real that it made your heart rate accelerate and your palms sweaty. You believed that worrying was a form of responsibility, the way you were preparing to cope with life. However, tonight, standing on the other slope of life, I invite you to look back with me at the timeline that has flowed by. Do you realize something? The astonishing truth is, 90% of the disasters that you once stayed up all night worrying about never actually happened. The monsters in the dark that you always feared turned out to be merely shadows cast by the lamp of imagination upon the walls of consciousness. In Buddhist wisdom, worrying is not preparation. Worrying is a form of attachment to illusion. The Buddha taught that our minds have a special talent. They like to build prisons out of strings that do not exist. We suffer not because reality is cruel, but because the reality in our minds is too noisy. Engrave this truth into your heart. We often lose so many radiant present moments, only to make room for dark futures that have never arrived. All the beautiful sunsets you missed, the cozy meals you ate mindlessly, or the smiles of loved ones that you did not catch in time to look deeply into their eyes. All have been stolen by the ghost of anxiety. You have consumed the vitality of the present to pay for a debt that was never real. Tonight, as you lie in the forgiving stillness of this room, I invite you to perform an act of liberation. Take a deep breath, bring your attention to the heaving rhythm in your chest, and smile at any worries still lurking. Whisper to your soul, everything is done. Tomorrow is a mystery, but right now, I am safe. When you stop supplying energy to fictional scenarios, they will automatically dissipate like smoke under the sun, returning to you a crystal clear mind to truly rest. Truth 2. You do not need to prove your worth to anyone. Try to quiet your heart and look back at the years that have drifted far away. Has most of your energy been used to perform on an invisible stage? You strove to become an exemplary father, a flawless wife, a resourceful employee, or a symbol of success in the eyes of your neighbors. We spend our whole lives proving we are good enough, capable enough, important enough. Success. Hoping that external praises will fill the void of internal insecurity. But dear friend, tonight, when the stage lights of life have dimmed, I want you to understand a liberating reality. The people who truly love you never loved you because of the achievements you attained. Your children and grandchildren love you, not for the titles you once held. The soulmates who stay by your side do not do so because of the glamour you carry. They love you for the warmth of your presence, for the tolerance in your eyes, and for your true self when stripped of all titles. In Buddhist wisdom, the value of a soul is not an item to be put up for auction. A wildflower blooming in the deep forest has no need to prove its beauty or fragrance to anyone passing by. It blooms simply to bloom. It is itself, complete and pure, whether someone gazes at it or not. Engrave this sacred truth: your value is intrinsic, not borrowed from the eyes of the world. It is time you are allowed to retire from the role of pleasing the whole world. Tonight, let every effort to be recognized, praised, or understood rest in peace. You do not need to prove anything anymore. When you stop looking outwards to find a yardstick for your self-worth, you will be amazed to notice a source of sovereign strength flowing right inside your chest. Whisper to your soul, I am enough. Even if I do nothing, even if no one sees, I am still whole and priceless. Sleep in the silent pride of someone who has realized that the most precious recognition is precisely the reconciliation with oneself in this soothing darkness. Truth 3. Many things you once pursued do not bring peace. Imagine your life as a mountain climb with no peak. For the past 40 years, your mind has been driven by the promise, if I just achieve this one more thing, I will truly be at peace. You dedicated all your vitality to accumulating wealth, climbing the ladders of status, and building a successful life according to the world's standards. We believe that material abundance will be a solid wall protecting us from the storms of anxiety. However, tonight, I invite you to look into your heart with absolute honesty. When you have money in your hands, greed whispers about a larger number. When you attain status, the fear of losing that position begins to torment you. There is a bitter truth that old age gifts us. Many things you once traded your entire youth to attain turn out to be the very things stealing your stillness right now. In the teachings of the Buddha, he calls this the cycle of craving. He compares human desire to a person burning with thirst who chooses to drink salt water to quench it. The more they drink, the more intense the thirst becomes. We suffer not because we are lacking, but because we are trapped in the illusion that external achievements can heal internal emptiness. Engrave this truth into your mind. Peace was never the prize at the end of the race. Peace is the ability to bravely step out of that race. Tonight, let the numbers, the titles, and the unfinished ambitions sleep peacefully outside the door. You do not need to possess anything more to feel whole. You do not need a bigger house or a fuller account to be allowed to rest. Whisper to your soul, I stop chasing after illusions. I choose to return to the breath and this gentle reality. When you realize that everything external is merely smoke and clouds, you will see a source of sovereign bliss flowing right in the utmost simplicity. Let your mind relax in the sacred contentment, for only when you stop searching will you truly find the greatest treasure, unconditional peace, right here and right now. Truth 4. Most conflicts are not worth carrying throughout life. Try listening to the silence of the room right now. Do you ever, in that space, suddenly hear the echo of an argument from 10 years ago? You recall an insult, a betrayal, or a battle to be right where you never yielded. Your mind begins to recook those negative emotions, and once again, your chest burns with anger or turns bitter with hurt. But dear friend, looking back from the peak of 60 years of age, do you realize something? Many mountains of conflict that you once swore never to let go of now look like tiny grains of sand blown away by the winds of time. The people you once considered enemies might now also be sitting alone facing old age just like you. The truths you once fought tooth and nail to protect now suddenly become faded before the gentle breath of the present. In Buddhist wisdom, he taught a truth that makes our hearts tremble. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison yourself and expecting the other person to die. Every heartbeat you dedicate to resentment is a heartbeat where you lose your own peace. Understand this liberating truth. Hatred is a fire you ignite hoping to burn the enemy, but you're the one inhaling the toxic smoke first. Tonight, I invite you to perform an act of ultimate compassion. Grant forgiveness to the past, not because others deserve it, but because your soul deserves to be unburdened. Ask yourself, will holding on to this pain do any good for my sleep tonight? Let the battles that have concluded truly rest in peace. When you bravely loosen your hands that are tightly gripping resentment, you will find you do not lose any power or dignity. You are merely receiving back the freedom you inherently always possessed. The night is deep. Let all disputes dissolve into nothingness, returning to you a clear heart, ready to sink into sleep without carrying any debts with the world. Truth 5. Time is what you are truly consuming, not money. Imagine you possess an invisible hourglass, where every falling grain of sand is exactly a sacred heartbeat. There is a bitter paradox that we often spend our whole lives fearing losing money. We check our accounts every day, we feel sorrow when our purses deplete, and we try our best to protect material security. However, dear friend, have you ever stopped to realize that what you are truly spending every day is not banknotes, but your very own blood and breath? In Buddhist wisdom, he taught about the law of impermanence. Everything flows and never returns. When you spend 2 hours worrying about a past event, you are not just worrying, you are using 2 precious hours of your life to buy suffering. When you trade your peace to chase after a title, you are not only paying the price with effort, you are paying with the very time you have in this world. At the age of 60, the price of everything suddenly becomes more expensive than ever. You are no longer in the time when time seemed endless. Now, every afternoon sitting quietly in the sun, every gentle breath, every smile beside loved ones has a value greater than all the treasures in the world. Engrave this truth into your soul. We often feel pain when seeing our purse deplete, yet unintentionally squander the last grains of sand in the hourglass of life on meaningless things. Tonight, I invite you to perform a great shift in perception. Do not ask, how much money do I have? But ask yourself, how much presence do I have left for myself? When you realize time is the only unrecoverable asset, you will stop wasting it on people who do not appreciate you, stop spending it on petrified regrets, and stop sacrificing it for anxieties about a future yet to come. Let the insight into the finitude of human life guide you back to the present. You are a billionaire of moments as long as your breath remains steady and your heart still beats. Do not let any ghost of the mind steal this treasure of yours for another second. Sleep in absolute appreciation for the very life flowing in your veins, because every peaceful moment tonight is exactly the most luxurious gift the universe is reserving just for you. Truth 6. Peace does not come from controlling life. We have spent an entire lifetime becoming diligent steersmen. We believe that if we just worry enough and calculate carefully enough, we can control the direction of destiny, from keeping our bodies forever healthy to arranging our children's futures perfectly. However, tonight, standing before the forgiving darkness, I want to gift you a thoroughly liberating truth. This world is inherently a flow beyond the reach of any individual will. You cannot control the aging law of cells. You cannot prevent separations that are inherently predestined by cause and condition. And you also cannot force this world to stop spinning its own way. In the wisdom of the Buddha, suffering actually does not come from the fluctuations of life, but from the desperate effort to make everything stand still according to one's will. Imagine life as a vast ocean. A good captain is not one who tries to quell the fierce waves, for humans never possess that power. The wise captain is one who learns how to ride the waves, loosen the sails, and trust in the water currents. Engrave this truth into your heart. Peace is not a prize for those who manage life perfectly. Peace is a gift for those who bravely stop fighting reality. Tonight, I invite you to perform an act of sweet surrender. Allow your body to be tired. Allow tomorrow to be a mystery. And allow your children to live their lives with their own lessons. When you let go of the steering wheel of control, you will be amazed to find you do not sink into the ocean. On the contrary, right at the moment you stop tensing up, your body will automatically float on the surface of the water. True liberation begins the very moment you tell yourself, I do not need to fix this world. I only need to be present and accept. Sleep in the weightlessness of a soul that has ceased to be the universe's sentry, allowing your heart to beat rhythmically to the leisurely melody of heaven and earth. Truth 7. Ordinary moments are exactly what make up life. Yet, dear friend, looking back from the harvest season of the soul, do you recognize a silent miracle? Life does not actually reside in grand milestones. Life lies in the very spaces between them. Think about a frugal meal when you sit still, chew very slowly, and feel the primal sweetness of the rice grain. Remember a brief conversation with an old friend about the weather, or simply the moment you stand silently by the window, watching a small bird perched on a dry branch. For all these years, our hurried minds often considered those as trivial matters, dead, times waiting for something more important to happen. But under the light of awakening, it is exactly those ordinary pauses that are the true music of life. In Buddhist wisdom, this is the spirit of suchness, meaning looking at reality exactly as it is. When you sit here breathing and truly know you are breathing, that is exactly nirvana amidst ordinary life. You do not need to go far, do not need to do anything extraordinary to find your life valuable. Engrave this forgiving truth into your mind. Happiness is not a special event. Happiness is the ability to recognize beauty in the most ordinary things. Tonight, I invite you to perform a silent ritual of gratitude. Silently thank the ordinary things that have nourished your soul today. A soft pillow supporting your head, a steady breath still operating, and a complete stillness enveloping the room. You do not need illustrious achievements to feel whole. You inherently already shine right in your own simplicity. Let your mind relax in the abundance of small things, because they are precisely the most precious pearls that time has silently bestowed upon your journey. Truth 8. Letting go brings greater freedom than holding on. Imagine you are a traveler who has walked the 6 long miles of a lifetime. On your back is a backpack full of items you have painstakingly collected. There are stones of regret, chains of expectation, and even outdated medals of titles. For decades, your mind has always whispered, "Do not let go. If you lose these things, you will be nobody." We mistakenly think holding on is a manifestation of strength, but the bitter reality is that this very effort to grip tightly is what is draining your last drops of vitality. In the wisdom of the Buddha, non-attachment is not indifference or rejecting life. Letting go is actually the art of loosening the hands so the flow of life can circulate. When you let go of the expectation that others must behave according to your will, you receive serenity in return. When you let go of the petrified past, you receive space for the present to breathe, a sigh of relief. And most profoundly, when you dare to let go of the old identity that you always protected, only then do you truly touch your most radiant being. You do not need to be the retired director, do not need to be the always right father, and also do not need to be the heavily wounded traveler. Tonight, I invite you to allow yourself to escape all definitions. Engrave this liberating truth into your mind. The greatest strength of a soul lies not in the ability to hold on, but in the power to let go. Tonight, as you lie in the silent darkness, perform an act of ultimate relief. Imagine you are loosening the ropes that tightly bind your heart to things that have passed. Whisper to your soul, everything is done. I no longer owe the world any proof. When you dare to let go, you will be amazed to find you do not fall into an abyss at all. On the contrary, right at the moment you truly release yourself, your soul will be as weightless as a cloud, drifting leisurely above all the storms of reality. Sleep in the absolute freedom of someone who has realized that only when your hands are empty can you fully embrace the entire universe of peace. Truth 9. You have never truly been lacking. Peace has inherently been complete. Try to honestly look back at your journey. For how many years have you lived with the feeling that you are an incomplete draft? You relentlessly search for a missing puzzle piece to feel happy. Sometimes an understanding life partner, sometimes success for your children, other times an ideal state of health. We live like beggars, standing before our own treasure, yet stretching out our hands to beg for every fallen grain of rice from the world. But dear friend, the ultimate wisdom that the Buddha bestowed upon us is this: you are not a chipped bowl needing to be patched. You have inherently been a full moon right from your very first breath. Imagine you are searching for light while holding a brilliantly glowing lantern in your hands. You run everywhere in panic, asking people for directions, fearing the darkness will swallow you. Yet if you just stop for a beat, take a deep breath and look down at your own chest, you will be stunned to realize that light has never faded. It has only been obscured by the murky clouds of expectation and anxiety. Engrave this sacred truth into your heart. The peace you have tiredly searched for your entire life, in fact, has never left you for even a single second. In the twilight years, when the external bustles quiet down, that is not the time you become empty, but the time you are allowed to clearly see the inherent fullness of your being. Peace is not an achievement for you to work hard to attain. Peace is a primal nature, waiting to be recognized by you when all interference stops. Tonight, perform an act of sweet surrender. Whisper to yourself, I lack nothing. I do not need to become anyone else. I am already peace. When you stop looking outwards to seek salvation, your nervous system will reach a state of absolute stillness, a stability that does not depend on any condition of the world. Sleep in the wholeness of a soul that has found a treasure right in its own chest. You are safe, you are full, and you are exactly the peace that the universe is cherishing. Dear friend, after all that we have shared, there is a most gentle truth that I want you to carry into your deep sleep. Old age has never been a retreat into loss. On the contrary, this is a sacred moment when the mist of vain pursuits officially dissipates, allowing you to truly see everything clearly, exactly as it is. Many people spend their whole lives acquiring, learning more, possessing more, believing that is the path to wisdom. But the wisdom of awakening whispers something else. Engrave this final message into your mind. True wisdom does not come from trying to add anything more to your life. It comes from the moment you see through and can let go of what was inherently never necessary. Tonight, you no longer owe the world an explanation, nor do you owe the past any regret. Everything is done. You have gone far enough, experienced deeply enough to realize that peace is not an achievement, but a permission. Allowing yourself to be free of affairs. Allowing yourself to be yourself. If this video has brought your soul a little warmth, a little light in the darkness, please help me spread this good energy with a like button and subscribe to the channel. That is how we together light the lamps of awakening, so no one feels lonely on the journey returning to themselves. wishing you a long night of peace, complete letting go, and waking up in the radiant light of a truly insightful being. Goodbye, and see you again in the next journeys of awakening.